let's go ahead and get started. Thanks so much for joining us. So you can see us, but these are our official photos, so that's fun. Next. Okay, so topics we're going to cover in this webinar include things like communications and portals, the various places that you're going to go to as a student to find information, to access information. We're going to give you some information about orientation and how that's being planned, laptop requirements and first-year supplies for your studio courses, tuition billing and financial aid, how that works, where you can go to manage that information, and then information about arriving on campus, whether you're commuting or living in our campus housing. So first of all, using your CCS ID login and password is really, really important. You're going to need to make sure that you have that and that you know it so that you can log into all these various portals. Blackboard, your CCS email is actually already active, so you can go in and check those emails. You are likely getting information there. Specifically, you should be getting information about your courses and class registration. We also have a portal called self-service. I'll review each of these, and then a brand new portal, which we're really excited about, that actually functions more like an app, like a social app, is called Peacock Pride. So Blackboard, to begin with, it's bb.collegeforcreativestudies.edu. Essentially, it functions as your course management system. When you have courses you're registered for, and once the Blackboard system is open for the semester, you would be able to get course information. You'd be able to get syllabi, material lists, book lists, assignments, all those kinds of things in Blackboard for your courses. And I'm gonna jump out here real quick. I'm gonna change my share so we can actually go to Blackboard and you can see what that looks like. So this is the Blackboard landing page, and it's gonna ask you to log in here. Now there's a lot of information accessible without logging in, so just know that a parent could go to Blackboard at any point and kind of dig around for information. But to log in, you get additional accesses, right? So that's here on the home page. The quick links is a really nice tool here on the left for easy access to things like your academic calendar, building hours, if you need to know how late the lab is open, or our imaging center hours, things like that. This is a quick link to your campus email. There's a campus map here. Help desk is really useful if you're having IT or technology issues on campus in any of our labs, then you can send a request for help through this link here. Our library homepage, so you can see, access our library catalogs and do some research from home. LinkedIn Learning, which is really awesome, is tutorials and tools for you to help learn a very large variety of software that we have available. Luna is our image collections, which is digital images. So when you're doing research or you're writing papers about particular pieces of art or design, you can poll, research, find images you're looking for specifically, but also things you've never seen before, right? So it's a really great tool and resource for students. Online phone directory goes to all of our staff, so you can search by name or department, which is really great because you may not remember who that person was you met, but advertising, design, faculty and staff are listed here so that you can always reach out to, oh yeah, the program manager is Lauren Lawrence, and that's an on-campus phone number there for her. So you can reach anybody that you're looking for through the online phone directory. Password reset if you forget what your password is, any information about payments, registration online. So incoming students don't register themselves for classes. They get registered by their academic advisor. But moving forward in future semesters, you will be using the Register Online tool here. Self-service is also here where you have to log in, and I'll go there in a minute or in a few minutes to show you what happens there. Scholarship opportunities, if you want to do some research around scholarships from outside of the college, and Web Advisor is where you can look at your class schedule. So that's a really brief overview of what Blackboard is, but you'll also notice you can download some Zoom backgrounds here, which are kind of fun. And e-accounts guest deposits. So a lot of families want to know, like, well, do you have a flex card or a student account where I could put money? Your student ID functions as your flex card. And so parents or students can go in and deposit funds onto the student account that can be used in our, to purchase food, to purchase, I believe you can purchase art supplies with that at our bookstore. That's really easy and useful way to do that. Some families set up like a monthly deposit or go in there only if they need to give their students some extra funds, however that works best for you. We do have an emergency alert system. All students are automatically added to the campus alert system, and this is for emergencies. We may be looking at additional uses for this system to communicate with families. We found that if we need to make mass announcements, this is actually really quite a good tool for us to be doing that. But if there were ever, a hurricane warning or something like that, right, which we don't actually have hurricanes, but if anything like that were to happen, it would come through the campus alert system so that everybody hears about it at the same time as quickly as possible. And then Blackboard has a student app, which certainly you could download if you would like. So there's some other pieces here. The campus offices tab is useful as well for you to find access to forms and I might need to get access to forms and information. So there's a link here for all the campus offices. So if you do need to connect with student affairs for anything like about housing or counseling, or you need to ask questions about your student account, or you want to make an appointment with the Student Success Center for tutorial or peer mentoring or time management, scheduling, those kinds of things, you're welcome to do that through these links. So also important to see is campus dining. This may look a little blank right now because we are not offering meals on campus right now, but this is where they would show you the hours for the various eating places on campus. And then if they have any highlights for the menu that week, you would see them here as well. The quick link to My Smart ID card is about your CCS ID card, and this is where you would log in to make a guest deposit. Okay, so that's Blackboard in a nutshell. So email, as I mentioned, it's really important for you to start watching your CCS email. There is important information coming to you through there, particularly, like I mentioned, with your class schedules, as well as the invitation to complete orientation, which I'll talk about in a minute. We also have a weekly student email going out, which is really pretty fun. You can get lots of information about activities, club meetings, alternative summer breaks, spring breaks, activities happening on and off campus, opportunities to show your work for exhibitions, grant opportunities. There are some scholarship opportunities that are announced through the student email as well. So I think in general, the weekly student email is a really great resource, but we are also implementing a new app. I mentioned Peacock Pride. So this is an app that will be designed to function like a social network for all of our students, but it's also connected to faculty and staff, which is really pretty awesome, so that our students have quick ways to communicate with the people they need to communicate with. And it's just essentially on an app, a tap of a button. It does offer push notifications that you can set up or decline, right? So if you are part of a club and a club is notifying you, hey, don't forget, we have a meeting coming up at 2 o'clock today, you can get those kinds of notifications. And it's a really nice way to be able to stay connected. Specifically and particularly if you're a commuter on, and you're coming to and from campus and you need to remember what's going on, what's happening, do I need to be there Wednesday? What else is happening? I have one class in the morning. What else can I do that afternoon? Those kinds of things. So that's going to be a really amazing addition to all of our campus offerings. So we're looking forward to that. You're going to be sent an invitation to join Peacock Pride through CCS email, and you're going to log in with your CCS ID and password. So keep that at hand. Start memorizing it if you haven't already. So self-service is also through Blackboard, and I'm gonna actually go there now so that we can show you a little bit more detail around how that works. So down here in the quick links on Blackboard, there is the link for self-service. So if I go to self-service, I would log in with my CCS login ID. And what you're going to see here is a bunch of different tabs. Now, I'm not going to click on all of these because this is my own personal view of self-service, but you'll notice there's a student finance button here. So if I were to click this, it would show my latest statement, and I could make payments online. So if I had a tuition bill, for example, it would show me what balance was due, and it would tell me when it's due, and I could establish payments online. Financial aid here is really important for anybody who's accepting scholarship aid, loans, grants, those kinds of things. You do have to fill out some forms and accept those loans. If you're interested in accepting loans, you actually have to go in there and purposefully do this. So you're going to go into here, self-service financial aid, and walk through that process. There is banking information. This is great, especially if students are planning to work for campus or on campus through work study positions, for example, or campus employment positions for students. You can set up direct deposit. This is really great. It allows you to get your money the day of payday and not have to wait or find a bank or do any other transactional kinds of things. If you have direct deposit set up, your money will go straight to the bank. It's more accessible there for you. It is also, if your direct deposit is set up, you can also use it to receive your refund if you are taking a refund on any of your student loans. So student planning, this is where you would come to look at your course schedule. So I mentioned Web Advisor. So there are a couple of ways to get to the same place, but student planning is where you can see your course schedule. You can plan ahead to see what courses you must take in the future. When you're registering later on, when you're in your going into your second semester or second year, when you are registering yourself, you'll go into student planning and you'll use their registration process to do that. You can also view your grades here by term. You can go to the course catalog if you want to look at course descriptions or course numbers, things like that. Courses in all the departments are listed here. And then this is only for faculty, and then this is some other things that you don't necessarily need to worry about. Enrollment verification is sometimes used if you're applying for a job or an internship, for example, and the company or organization needs to have verification that you are actually enrolled as a student at CCS. You can submit that request for enrollment verification here. So that's a little early for you guys, might not need that right away, but that is there for you to look at later on. And then you can reach all of these areas also using the left side scroll tool here. So it's the same thing, it's just another view for you to utilize. Okay, so that's essentially self-service. And one thing that I should mention is that students, you are able to provide proxy access for a parent or guardian in self-service. So if you do that, it allows parents to actually log in and look at all of those same pieces of information that you are able to see. So that includes grades, it includes bills and tuition, things like that. So if you are working with a parent closely and you want them to have access to that information, you do need to set up proxy access in self-service. If you prefer not to allow anybody else to have access to self-service, you simply don't have to set that proxy access for them. So just so you know, when you get to college, you have to allow your parents to see that stuff. It doesn't automatically default that way. Okay, so just want to make sure that that's clear for everybody. Okay, so laptop requirements and recommendations is also something we get a lot of questions about. So there are two programs that have a requirement for laptop purchase. So advertising design and communication design do require students to have a laptop. And then there are some recommendations for what kind of laptop to purchase for all other majors. I would like to clarify that because of the pandemic and because of where we are in the world right now, we are recommending that people bring a laptop to campus if they're able to do that. We still will have access to what we, like a community computer lab. And we have purchased some sanitizing covers for the keyboards and things like that in the labs. But we are recommending if you have a laptop, bring your laptop. If you were planning to purchase a laptop anyway, please go ahead and do that and bring that with you. It's just going to be a lot less anxiety ridden for you as the student using and needing access to technology. So just letting you know that. Also, our Audiovisual Center, or AVC as we call it, does have additional equipment available for students to borrow, and will continue to make that available to students. So that would be equipment that's more like cameras and lighting equipment, lenses, sound recording equipment, those kinds of things that you might need for working on a project. So I wanted to take you to the CCS website where you can look at the recommendations for laptops. So one of the, so this is our website, right? This is the home landing page. Now that you're essentially transitioning to be a student, the key area that you're going to want to be looking at here is under student resources. So under student resources, you have all of these offices that can add additional information for you. This is a little bit more public facing. You can get a lot of the same information on the Blackboard page, but we do have some information here for, that's just like another place, right, for you guys to get this information. So under resources, we have our laptop requirements and recommendations. And if you go down this page, you'll see there are these plus symbols that allow you to open up the additional information. So these are specifics on what we're asking our advertising design and communication design students to purchase and bring with them. And there is a link here, excuse me, for getting an educational discount. So as a student at CCS with an ID number, you can actually get the educational discount if purchasing new equipment through Apple. So please use that if you're planning to purchase. And I also would like to clarify that we do have access for all students software through the Adobe Creative Cloud, and that is made available to students for free. As well as the Microsoft Office. So that includes Word, I think a basic version of Excel, so that when you're writing your papers and doing your liberal arts studies courses, you have access to software to do that as well. So please take a look at this page so that you have as much information as you need for whatever it is you're going to purchase. I know there's some questions around, well, should I buy a Mac or should I buy a PC? And I think it really kind of depends on your major. And I think that definitely most software works on a PC or a Mac, no problem. Sometimes where you get into the nitty-gritty differences between a Mac and a PC might be if you're working, for example, with Alias, So transportation design students working in Alias tends to work better on a PC, but I think is available on a Mac. Don't hold me to that. But so those are some questions that you may be able to get answers to if you participate in any of our upcoming department sessions. So we are hosting coming up through the rest of the summer here, department sessions by major, so that you could get additional specifics about what to purchase. You could join, for example, the transportation design session and ask those nitty-gritty questions so that you're getting the best guidance possible. And then, also something to consider, we get a lot of questions around EA students, so entertainment arts students who are working in animation, for example, or game. They're doing a lot of modeling, a lot of rendering. They need the bandwidth and the server space to do those, what's the word, the renderings. So there is access to additional software, not just the Creative Suite, but additional software that those students might need based on programs. So just be aware of that. And we are very aware that there are many softwares out there that students like to use. And so we do our best to make sure that you have access to what you need. And I can say, I don't have a whole lot of detail about it. We are planning another event to discuss it further, but we will be rolling out a new virtual desktop that allows for really solid connectivity to our servers on campus. So if you are studying and working remotely for any portion of your class, for example, or needing to connect from off-site, you're going to be able to do that pretty securely and with some good response times and things like that. So very excited to be adding that. So one other thing so that's computers and technology, but we also have, as you know, our students in their first year are taking some of your more traditional classes like drawing or 2D design. And so we do have a complete list of art supplies available for you. Brandy, if you could throw that link in the chat, that would be amazing. Because it's a very long list. So you wouldn't have to get everything on the list. It's by class. So you would be looking at your course schedule and then finding the course on that list and then taking a look at what you would need for that class in order to accomplish the assignments and things like that. So just keep that in mind as well. On average, I think the estimate is that you would spend about $1,500 a year on art supplies. And I think that goes up or down based on your major, simply because, for example, a communications design student might use some dollars for printing, but they may not be buying canvases and oil paint, for example. Whereas other students would be buying more tools or equipment to be using. So it really just depends. But on average, we think $1,500 is pretty accurate. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit more about class schedules and how that all works. We're going to talk about the pre-registration survey, which I'm hoping the vast majority of you have already completed. We're going to be talking about instructional modes being planned for the fall, documents and credit placement. And I actually removed the English placement exam, and I'll tell you why, because we've decided that that will be happening on an as-needed basis. So there isn't a general English placement exam right now for this fall. So this is typically for international students who might need to take this exam to help us place them in the proper level English course. So I wanted to review pretty briefly with you here the different instructional modes that CCS is using in the fall. We will have an opportunity for any student who cannot attend classes in person on campus to complete their coursework completely remote. And so that is for students who cannot come to campus. And that includes anybody who has health issues that are keeping them from coming to campus. Students who cannot physically get to campus, for example, some of our international students are may not be able to come to campus this fall. So we're making sure that students can continue their program. They do not need to press pause on moving forward with their education at CCS because we have these options available to students. So you'll see in the course catalog that is being republished this week, we're adding these icons next to each course. So the icons are going to be specific to how the delivery of that course content is going to take place. And you can see that the green icon with the is a student or a studio rather, in-person studio. So this would be an in-person studio course that meets 90 contact hours per semester, which is typical for a studio course. In this case, a studio course would not have content or assignments delivered online. So you may say, well, how do I complete my program remotely if that's the case? Well, we would find, we can have you working with a faculty person or the chair to either manage your schedule so that you are maybe not taking studios that are only in person in the fall and moving that to another semester, or coming up with a plan that would allow you to participate remotely. So I can tell you the vast majority of our studio courses are going to be accessible via remote access and hybrid access. So just keep that in mind. The blue icon is independent study or internship. Black is asynchronous online course that would include essentially a lecture and studio. So asynchronous classes essentially means no learning takes place live, and the asynchronous courses don't have set class meeting times. Instead, you're given your lecture material and assignments to complete within a window of time, for example, a week. And so that is sort of pace yourself and go through the course as it's presented to you. There may be some recordings, but nothing is live or set at a particular time. The synchronous online course, lecture and studio, literally translates to at the same time. So all your students would be meeting in a live course at a set time, and you would be required to attend those sessions for live instruction and demos and things like that. Our hybrid course in red here is a blended in-person studio and online. So for example, we have been working very closely with our facilities staff to ensure that we are allowing for appropriate social distancing in studios. So for example, when you attend a studio, you typically have it scheduled out for 6 hours in a week. So that is usually 3 hours on one day and 3 hours on another day. So let's say it's a Tuesday, Thursday course. On Tuesdays, it's 3 hours. On Thursdays, it's 3 hours. This fall, we will have, for example, half of a 12-person class attend in studio on Tuesday and online on Thursday. And the other half of a 12-person class will attend online on Tuesday and in studio on Thursday. What this allows us to do is keep the number of students at a minimum so that we can allow for enough space between people, make sure people are staying socially distant in a safe way, but also productive. So you can expect that to be a pretty common approach to studio courses this fall. Online hybrid is rather coming to campus. Students meet synchronously online through Zoom, and it integrates live or at the same time via Zoom and asynchronous. So there may be some learning you're doing at your own pace offline, but you are also doing some real-time participation in a Zoom structure. So I know that's a lot. We are going to share this video recording with you after the event so you can take some time to further look at these. But I just wanted you all to know that we're really planning very thoroughly on how to make sure our students can all accomplish the coursework they need and want to accomplish this fall. So just wanted to cover that. Okay, you all probably recently, if you've been deposited for a little bit anyway, have received a request for a final official transcript. So we know that this can be a little aggravating, so we apologize in advance, but we are required by the state of Michigan to make sure that we confirm all our incoming students have graduated from high school. So yes, you applied with a transcript, but that transcript likely did not have your graduation date on it. So what we're asking for now is that we receive a copy of your high school transcript that confirms your graduation from high school. High schools know this. They know they have to provide it to every school that all their students are going to. So while you may think your high school's closed for the summer, your guidance counselors are definitely working on sending us those transcripts. So please, if you have not yet requested your final official transcript, please go ahead and do that. So this would be final official high school transcript. And then for college students or transfer students who are coming to join us this fall, we would need any final transcript that indicates a completed grade for a course that may have been in progress this current or just recently ended semester. So you definitely want to send us any updated transcripts that have any college level credit with a grade on it so that we can go ahead and review that credit and have it placed. So be aware that we have announced that there is a July 15th deadline to get us your final official transcript. And I wanted to mention to you that it's way quick, very, very quick and easy to request your transcript sent through Parchment. So Parchment is a tool that many schools use. Not all schools use it, but many schools use it to send transcripts securely and electronically. And that can come to CCS simply by putting that request in online. But you can also contact your guidance counselor, however your school says to do it, and they can get it to us via email or through Parchment. So we do ask that you give us some patience. So like today, we had 60 transcripts arrive through Parchment. So it takes us a little bit of time, just a couple of days, to get your document tracked in our system to indicate that we have received it. So thank you for your patience in advance, but just know that we will be marking that as received as soon as we possibly can. So let's see, what's next? So course schedule and credit placement. I mentioned credit for college level work. We do create a transfer credit evaluation for all of that. Some high school students who've completed college level work are likely getting this transfer credit eval as well. That's sent to you by email. And so when you receive your course schedule, you're going to want to take a look at that and make sure that it fits your needs. You know, if you have work or things you need to schedule around, you should absolutely request changes through your academic advisor. And when you receive the email that includes your completed course registration, it will include the contact information for your academic advisor. But again, if you go to Handy Blackboard, you can always find who your academic advisor is by going to Campus Offices, clicking on Academic Advising and Registration, and along the right-hand side, you'll see the contacts for each department. So at CCS, our academic advisors are assigned based on academic program. So Heather Barnhart, for example, is the academic advisor for advertising design, communication design, craft and material studies, and undeclared students. So if you need to ask her about what to do, if you need to change your course schedules, you can go ahead and do that by calling or emailing. You should know that she also has, or rather all of the academic advisors also have these Calendly links where you can request an appointment, which is super, super easy. And it simply allows you to request a Zoom appointment or a phone appointment or a Google Chat appointment. And this is a really nice way for you to connect with your academic advisor and you know, make sure that you connect with them and get what you need from them. And our staff are working all summer. We're here to help you with whatever it is that you would like some help with. So just use that Blackboard site as a resource. Okay, here are some updates on orientation. So at CCS, orientation is required for all incoming students. So that includes freshmen and transfer. Forgive my dog here. All incoming students are required to participate in orientation. This year, our orientation will be managed online. So you will be invited to participate in the orientation between August 1st and 25th. And in total, it is about 6 to 8 hours worth of your time, which really isn't any different than a regular orientation. You just don't have to sit all in one place all day, which is really nice. So, well, not all in one place, but you know what I mean. So the orientation is going to be emailed to you. You're going to log into it. You're going to work through it at your own pace. And we are going to track who has completed it and who has not. So just know that we will be asking you to complete it if you haven't completed it before August 17th, because we really do need everybody to be done with the orientation process online by the 25th. And then we also are at requiring students to participate in 2 additional events. Those would be the virtual diversity and inclusion session, which is Sunday, August 30th at 1 p.m. Eastern, and then a virtual department meeting on Sunday, August 30th at 3:30 Eastern. I know that they are working on some additional meeting times that may work more appropriately for our international students who may be participating from overseas. So just keep an eye out for that, and you may get information from our International Student Services Office with an invite for those. So watch your email. This again comes through your CCS email, so please keep an eye on that. We are also very excited to be able to tell you that we are planning some fun stuff. Welcome Week at CCS is essentially the week between campus move-in and when classes begin. Everybody, whether you're living on campus or commuting to and from campus, are invited to participate in all of our events for Welcome Week. Most of them are going to be virtual or socially distanced. Well, all of them will be at least socially distanced. Some will be virtual. And we have things like virtual game nights. They're going to plan a large outdoor movie night on our, I call it the oval because it's not square, but it's essentially our quad, right? So nice grassy area outside with a huge screen so that people can, you know, so you guys can hang out, but, you know, be distant enough and be able to feel comfortable doing that. We're also offering some outdoor yoga, and they're planning a bunch more activities in the Student Affairs Office. So we're really looking forward to that and very excited that they're finding ways to get you guys connected. And then we also offer Peacock Palooza. So I don't know if you guys know, but like, hopefully you know by now, but we are the Screaming Peacocks. So that's why everything's Peacock. So our Peacock Palooza is Monday, August 31st at 1 o'clock. And that will be on campus outside. And that's a really nice opportunity for students to learn about our various clubs and activities, student government, ways to get engaged on campus. Some departments offer opportunities to apply for work study or campus work jobs, you know, things like that. So there's also you know, some really nice ways to connect with other staff from around campus at that event. So I encourage you to participate there. Also, we recognize that many of you have not had a chance to take a campus tour. So what we are doing for new students is that we're setting up opportunities for you to register for a small group campus tour during Welcome Week. So those details and the sign up will be announced soon, but just encouraging, I would like to encourage you to go ahead and sign up for something like that so that if you haven't had a chance to visit campus, or if you would simply like another review of what our campus layout is, you can do that. It will help you know where the different offices are, where the classrooms are, where our imaging center and the cafeteria and the student success center, all of those kinds of things, where those are and how to get there, so you feel a little bit more grounded on campus. So again, all those activities are open to both on-campus and commuter students. And then I also need to make sure I'm letting you guys know, because this is an important part of our fall 2020 preparedness for return to campus, is that we are taking health and safety very seriously. And we do have guidelines that we are requiring our students follow, and they include wearing masks when on campus. They include social distancing. It also includes limit to guests visiting campus, and that activities we plan will either be virtual or socially distanced outdoors. So I'm telling you that ahead so that you can plan for that, and know that that's an expectation. So I will share one other thing with you right after I review parent orientation here about fall preparedness. But I wanted to mention that parent orientation is scheduled for Sunday, August 23rd at 3 o'clock. That will be on Zoom, so parents can participate virtually, and also it will be recorded. If you're unable to attend, we will send it out and make it available to you. And that is led by our Dean of Students, Stan Long. But I want to make sure that students know that we need to have your parents' contact information in order for them to get the latest and be, you know, kept up to date on what's happening and what's available to them as part of your transitioning to CCS. So please reach out to your admissions counselor with your parents' contact information. That would be full first and last name, their email, and a phone number. And if you can do that by August 1st, that puts us in really great order to make sure your parents are being kept in the loop as much as possible. We do actually have emails that go out to parents over the summer as well. So if you do it sooner than later, they can get some of those as well. So just want to make sure you guys are all aware of that. Okay, before I talk about housing and move-in, I'm going to grab this page, and we're going to go to the CCS homepage. So we do have a link here at the top. This bright yellow bar is called CCS's Fall Reopening Plan. And in it, there's a lot of really important and great information. So there's a video here from our president, Don Tusky. I would encourage you to watch that. We also have information about our reopening plan. And this is some abbreviated information about how we're approaching students being on campus. But I would encourage you to actually open this preparedness plan on the bottom left. It's a fairly large document, but it's really got a ton of great information. It includes information about how we are going to maintain cleanliness and sanitization of our various areas of campus, from bathrooms to the tools you use in the wood shop and the computer labs and all of that. So I would really encourage you, if you have any concerns or questions about how CCS is handling keeping everybody safe this fall, read the preparedness plan. And students, you should probably take a look at it so that you're not, so that you know what the expectations and the plans are as well, okay? One thing to note is that our academic calendar changed, and so we want to make certain that everybody is aware how our fall term is going to work. Our classes are going to begin on August 31st. This is a week earlier than you may have seen previously, so we want to make sure everybody's aware of this. August 31st, fall classes begin. And when we break for Thanksgiving, which is here, November 26th to 28th, we will have all classes resuming remotely, which means students who've left campus for Thanksgiving will not return. And any students who are still on campus will also participate remotely from campus in all classes. So just letting you know that it's a little bit different than our normal fall semester would run, but we're doing this as a way to make sure everybody stays healthy as the beginning of cold and flu season begins and the potential uptick of COVID, which we would like to stem and avoid, while also making sure that our students can finish all their courses and coursework in a planned and not scrambled way. So that's the plan for the fall. Take a look at the academic calendar here if you have any additional questions about how that's going to work. And then we also have FAQs. So reopening FAQs are frequently asked questions where you can see these questions and read the answers. There's some links here for additional information if you need to, if we felt like that was useful for you. And we will continue to update these with additional questions and answers that may come up. There's some about housing here, some about international students specifically, about facilities, what if I get ill, and information about commencement and things like that. So again, this is super useful page. We are updating it very regularly, and I would encourage you to take a look at what's there now and then check in periodically to make sure you're seeing what's being added. Okay, so back to our presentation here. There are also some small changes, well, sort of small changes being instituted in housing for move-in. Move-in will require an appointment for a specific date and time, and move-in will take place between August 26th and 29th. So we have not opened up the appointment times yet, but if you are in housing and you have paid your deposit and you have a space in housing, you will be invited to select an appointment time for move-in. We do have students on our wait list, and I can tell you that we are actively working to make sure that students can come off the wait list. We are actively working with confirming students who plan to live in housing. So this is all in progress, and our housing director, Ryan Harrison, will continue to give you updates about housing. So again, another good reason to be checking your CCS email if you are connected to or waiting for or interested in housing, okay? There is information about what to bring to when you move in. And again, if you go to student resources on our website, go to housing. There are some photos and things, if you haven't seen those yet, some outline of what the rooms have in them that you can see here. There's a virtual housing tour, which is pretty cool, done by some of our current students. And then there are some common features, information about the meal plan and how that works, about our staff, about students with disabilities, and then contact information for our housing staff. And then also FAQs, which are often helpful, and lists of what you should bring, right? So what to bring, there's information here that you can go through so that you're planning appropriately. And again, a short list of what's provided. There is also a list of what not to bring. So we do have limitations on what you can have in your dorm room. So make sure you're not bringing any of these items. They will be confiscated. They will not be returned to you. And so just be aware of these things. We are a dry campus. So alcohol is not allowed regardless of age or residence hall. So just be aware of that. Even if you are of age, we do not allow alcohol on campus. Okay. All right. So next, I want to also encourage you guys to connect with your roommates before you arrive. So if you haven't seen it yet, if you have applied for housing and you have a place in housing, when you have a room or a bed number, right, you will see the other people assigned to that room. You can also connect with them because their social contact information is in Room Choice. So if you go to ccshousing.roomchoice.com and log in as yourself and go to that space that you've been assigned or the room, you should be able to get all the contact information for your roommates. And we encourage you to do that. Reach out to them, talk about, you know, are you bringing a fridge? I was going to bring a fridge or not. Or, you know, what do you like and what kind of music do you listen to? You know, all that stuff. So get to know one another that way. The contact information is there to facilitate that. But we do encourage you to do your own reach out. I'm sure everybody is just as eager as you are to get to know who they're living with. So people are often very excited to receive a reach out. So, okay. Student ID and parking pass. So when you get to campus, you will receive your student ID. You will need to get your photo taken for it. So I'm sure that they being student affairs will organize a process for you to get your student ID. Just know if you're parking on campus, parking is free. But you do need to get a parking pass so that we know that that vehicle is yours and that it is allowed to be in our parking areas. So we do have parking decks at the Taubman Center and the Ford campus. Parking in either place is free, no matter where you live on campus or if you're a commuter. So you're allowed to use that parking. You do have to follow the parking rules, and you do need to have a parking pass, so be aware of that. Your ID card is required to enter any housing. It is required to enter campus buildings. You need it to ride the CCS shuttles between the Taubman Center and the Ford campus. And just as a reminder for those of you who aren't aware, the Taubman Center is 1 mile north of the Ford campus. So the CCS shuttles, we have 4 of them, I believe, go between the 2 locations 24/7. And they are driven by our security staff. So students, even if it's 3 a.m. and they need a ride from the Taubman studio that they've been working into the dorm room they have at the Ford campus, they can take a CCS shuttle at night and do that safely. It's only 1 mile apart, so in the daytime, many students will ride their bike or walk if it's nice, but if you're kind of in a hurry, the shuttle helps and works pretty well, very well. So you can also ride bikes between, there is bike parking in both parking decks. That is also free, but we do ask you to register your bicycle with the campus security and safety office. And that's where you get your student ID and your parking pass is campus safety. So same would be for the bike pass. Okay. Some students ask if they can bring their bike into their dorm room. There is no rule against it, but you would probably need to plan with your roommates about doing that. And if you have 4 or 5 bikes in one room, that could get a little hairy. You know, if you're in a suite, for example. So you probably want to talk about that in advance and just be aware that you're not allowed to screw any of the bike hangers in the dorm room. So hanging it from the ceiling isn't really going to be an option. But for example, if your bed is lofted, you could put it under the bed or something like that. So there are definitely ways that students figure that out. So just be aware that you can do it, but it might need some forethought. So I did want to also let you all know that, and maybe Brandy, if you wouldn't mind posting the link to this recording in the chat, I would appreciate it. We do have a recording about how students who have a need for ADA accommodations can submit the documentation and request for accommodations through Dan Long, who is our Dean of Students. And so that presentation has lots of great information. It has information there about accommodations for physical accommodations, academic accommodations, emotional support animals, and other, animals, service animals who may be needed to support students through their academic programs at CCS. So I encourage you, if that's something that you need or are interested in learning more about, please watch the video. It's about 20 minutes. It's not overly long, but very helpful. Lots of great information in there. So please take a few minutes to do that if you have the need. So we're getting to the end of our presentation here, but I think one of the things that we like to make sure that we communicate to you as the admissions team, we've selected you as a student because we believe that you can be successful at CCS. We're excited to help you move into that phase of your creative journey. And we really are eager to see what you create and do and build while you're a student. So we really want you to recognize that part of that success will come from managing your own time. So we encourage you to try and develop and or build or use existing skills to manage your time. We do encourage students who maybe need some help or support in learning how to do that better or making improvements or simply want some support to say, yeah, you've got this all organized and you're doing great, to use the Student Success Center. So the Student Success Center at CCS is designed to offer peer tutoring, and that is from anything from writing a paper to working in Photoshop to observational drawing to timing for animation, anything. It is designed to include techniques and skills that you're learning and using in studios, but it's also designed to help you with things like time management, writing feedback, and other ways to plan your workload and your free time and to help you find success. So we do encourage you to work on homework in stages and phases, so it's not an all or nothing kind of approach, to come to your coursework with an understanding that it will take time to develop or to come up with an idea and then to develop that idea, and it doesn't always happen exactly when you need it to, and that you really should not be afraid to ask for help. You're in college because you're going to learn and you're here to develop the skills you need to be successful. And one of the ways to do that is to ask for help when you need it, or to ask for feedback when you're not sure of something, right? So it's all a learning process, and no one expects you to come in the same person that you will be when you graduate. And so all of that 4 years will take a lot of change and effort, and we just want to support you in that in whatever way we can. We support you and encourage you to continue to build positive habits that include exercise and fitness, meditation, healthy eating, drinking water, balanced work and fun, finding time for really solid sleep, and planning for that so that you don't forget. It's kind of sad to say, but as a college student, I think you can forget to drink water or eat 3 meals a day or get solid sleep. So we really want to encourage you to do that. And then we also have some resources at CCS that will help you manage your own well-being, and that includes the Wellness and Counseling Office, who are offering virtual and in-person services for our students. We have a nurse on campus, and we just entered a new agreement with Wayne State University for our students to access their health center, which is really fantastic. And then for those families who maybe aren't as familiar with where we are only 1 mile from both Detroit Medical Center and the Henry Ford Hospital. These are really amazing facilities. and very reliable and easily accessible. And then again, we just want you to stay as healthy as possible. So reminding you that you're gonna be asked to follow social distancing and mask requirements. So read that campus fall preparedness plan, if you will. And I think, you know, we'll all get through it fine. So I am going to stop sharing, and I'm going to turn my video on. And I think Brandy can do that as well. And we'd love to answer your questions. So if you have submitted any that you would like us to answer, or if you haven't submitted any, go ahead and enter into the Q&A. You're very welcome for all the information. We're very glad to share it. I know it's a lot of talking, so I'm sorry, but I hope you got some nuggets there to take away. So what questions do we have, Brandy?
Carla, there was one question that I answered privately, but I didn't know if you could speak to students who are currently on the wait list for housing. Someone was asking if that's
how that's managed.
Yeah.
Okay, so my understanding right now is that we do have students on the wait list. We are, like I said, working with to solidify the plans of students so that we can get a really clean sense of how many students really want campus housing. So every year we end up with people who say, oh, yeah, I decided not to live in housing, or yeah, I just put my application in because I thought I might, but now I won't. So we've asked all of the people who are given a space in housing that we're asking them to confirm their intent. So we should have answers from all of those students in the next 2 weeks, is my understanding. And then we're going to begin to take students off the wait list and put them into spaces that are available. But I do know that once we have a better sense of what the demand is, we can begin looking at alternative possibilities for housing. So I cannot promise anything at this moment, but I can give you some examples of things we've done in the past. In the past, we have secured housing off campus in for example, an apartment building or condos where students were able to live there, and the lease was secured by the college. So it really is our goal to give any student who needs or wants housing a space to live on campus or near campus. And when we've done the housing off-site, we have actually adjusted our shuttle routes so that students can use the CCS shuttle to get between all of those locations. So more information on that will be forthcoming. So just check your CCS email, check your email. I know email is not a big thing for a lot of you young kids, but it is important. It's a very important way that we connect with information about things coming up. So please just bear with us on that piece. All right, what's next?
Someone was asking about, because they have free access to Adobe and Microsoft software, is that something that's available now or once school starts?
That actually is a really good question.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know the answer.
You know, actually, I think that it's not available just yet because our IT department has to submit all of the names and login credentials for all of our registered students. So I believe that that is not available just yet, but I can get information on that and share that out and make sure you guys know when that's available, because I'm sure you're all itching. So love to share that with you as soon as we can do that.
There are also questions about accessing the bookstore or purchasing swag. Do we know when that will be accessible for folks?
Yes. So my understanding is that the bookstore will be closed until move-in. So when move-in happens, the bookstore will be open and available for families or students to go in and purchase. Hopefully you've received a little bit of swag from us. I know you probably want way more, but you should, we periodically through the summer, we'll be sending a couple of items for you to show your peacock pride with. So hang in for those.
Awesome.
So this is a good question. I wish I could. So the question is, can you provide a link to the active work study openings? When attempting to go through Blackboard, all postings are older than 9 months and it looks like they're not live. I think that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking it. I think, well, so I should do a plug right now that admissions is always hiring. Where we hire what we call student ambassadors to work in the admissions office, and they can also do campus tours or support and help when we have open houses and other activities like that. We also have calling and you know, some things you can do remotely, for example. So admissions is always looking to hire great students, but I can tell you that typically work study positions are not posted until about the second week of classes. What I would say is that campus offices tend not to post those until the new semester begins. And so they are typically not posted over the summer because they may not have staff readily available to review applications and things like that. So I would say that if you were to check Blackboard around the first, second, third week of the semester, you should see a lot of opportunities posted there. But you can also ask directly with any department or program or office that you're interested in working for. So if you already know that you'd like to gain some experience working in the wood shop while you're a student, you can reach out to the wood shop and say, so I'm an incoming student, this is my schedule, and I have some hours that I'd like to work. Is there any way that you could consider me? Do you have an application? That kind of thing. So being proactive about it is really helpful. And going to Blackboard and using the online phone directory would be great, or going to the campus offices, is that what it's called? Campus offices tab, and going to any of those departments and finding out who the manager is for that area will be really helpful to you. And then use your CCS email so they know that you are a student, and you know, inquiring that way I think will get you pretty far. Let's see. For students coming from other states, will they be moving in and staying on campus after move-in day? So I'm not sure what, I'm not sure exactly what that question means, but yes, once you move in for the semester, but essentially it's, you know, the student would stay. We don't have housing for families or guests who might be joining you on the, you know, move in. But there are hotels around Detroit all over. There's one across the street that you can stay in as well. So if that doesn't quite answer your question, you might posit it one more time in a different way.
And one thing that add to that, Carla, just in case they're asking about if people are moving in on after move-in date, the move-in dates, we have those that series of dates, but that is a mandatory time frame, correct? No one can move in after that.
That's correct. That's correct. So we do need all students to move in between those 3 days, the 26th to the 29th. And yes, if you move in on the 26th, you remain there through the rest of move-in and welcome weekend, et cetera. So yeah, typically we have students here about a week before classes begin, and that's a way to acclimate and get to, you know where your classes are, meet people and things like that. Okay, great. Well, I don't see any additional questions. I'll give you one last opportunity to post something in the Q&A if you have any more questions. And I think we're good. Thank you, Brandy, for manning the chat. Yay! And for joining me on this session. I do hope this information was useful to you all. And we can't wait to meet you. Thank you, and stay well. And can students go home on weekends? Last ditch question. Okay, so we have gotten this question a number of times. We are asking for the safety of everyone, and to maintain a level of, you know, a lowered level of opportunity for COVID to spread, that students who are living on campus should not go home on the weekends. It's a way to keep your peers and your faculty and the staff working with you safe. And so that's the request, is that for this semester, you do not go home on the weekends. If that is something that's super important to you, then you may need to consider what that means for you in terms of living in housing. I also should mention that housing is not allowing any outside guests in the building. So these are additional limitations that are being placed because of COVID. This is not normal. And hopefully we can get back to normal, right? But so just keep that in mind. There are going to be some additional limitations in housing that not everybody will like, but are there to keep everybody safe. Okay, so all right. Well, thank you again for your time. You can always reach out to your admissions counselors if you have other questions. We're here for you at any time. So enjoy your evening. Good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.